everyone. Welcome to Public Works and Infrastructure, affectionately known as the greatest show on earth. Before we get started with our agenda for today, I'm going to ask my colleague, Commissioner Shakira Johnson, if she is comfortable with the minutes under 1390.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-1390.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We got the hard stuff done. All right. Next, we're going to go into a discussion. There are many conversations that are happening throughout the metro area, with DeKalb being part of that, especially with us, on mass transit and how we approach it and possible solutions to issues that we have. I will note that in District 1, Spaghetti Junction is ranked as the 4th worst stretch of road in America. That's a dubious distinction, but that also gives us an opportunity to come up with a good solution for the future. To that end, we're going to begin our discussions with the I-285 Top End Project update. If I could call Mr. Eric Bozeman. And Eric, if you wouldn't mind, I know we have been talking about top end transit since I was a Dorville councilman, I think in 18 or 19.
Yes, sir.
If you could give us a little bit of background, if you haven't already included that in your slides.
I will, absolutely. And thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to be here this morning to brief you on this exciting effort. It was 2019, I believe, when we began the first phase of study looking at the feasibility of running a transit service within the proposed 285 top end express lane. So this is separate from the GDOT effort to construct express lanes. What started really as a grassroots effort between local municipalities, the county, and community improvement districts on 285 was a feasibility study to look at how could we run transit within those express lanes. And so there were 3 rounds of feasibility studies that were done, first looking at rubber wheel versus rail-based transit systems and what the cost and benefit of that was. Once it was decided that a rubber wheel-based system was much more feasible and likely, then we did a first phase of a system analysis and operations, and then a third phase that focused on potential station locations. And that's really where the effort I'm going to speak to you this morning began, was focusing on the station areas themselves, or where there are potential station areas along the top end of 285. So our effort via Kimley Horn was through the Top End Transit Executive Committee. And here with us this morning is Patty Hansen, who is the Director of Strategic Partnerships for the City of Brookhaven, and who is our Direct Project Manager and Liaison to the Top End Transit Executive Committee, comprised of the county, the municipalities, and the CIDs across the top end of 285 from DeKalb over to Cobb County. And then we've been working in partnership with MARTA and their consultant on the transit process, and Eric Harris, who is MARTA's project manager for the I-285 Top End Transit Initiative, is also here with us this morning as well. So as I mentioned, our study and the topic today really about the station areas kicked off with those feasibility studies, and the slide that is on the screen right now is all of the potential station areas that have been studied as part of this effort, from Indian Creek, which is the east rail line, up and around the top end of 285 over to H.E. Holmes, which is the west line. And again, that aligns with, but is not directly associated with the I-285 top end express lanes that GDOT is constructing from I-20 East to I-20 West. And so our analysis over the last year or so has really focused on what is the development potential around each of these stations. We know that transit works best when people can walk to and from their destination to a transit station and not have to get into a vehicle first. So what is the development potential for each of these stations? And then in order to facilitate that connectivity, what are the first and last mile connectivity improvements? So think walking, bicycling, micro mobility modes for people to get to and from these potential transit services and stations to their destination. So we began with existing plans. The analysis is what is in each community's comprehensive plan today? What about all of the small area plans and TOD plans that have been done? We didn't start from scratch. We started from that framework of all the great thought and planning processes that have been conducted in the past. We did an analysis of development potential based on susceptibility to change and the future land use classifications for each station. We looked at project lists to foster first and last mile connectivity and made recommendations around all of that, and then wrapped all of that into an executive summary document that both documents where we are, but also some policy recommendations, both for stations that might, for areas that might be transit stations, and for those that have the potential to facilitate transit stations in the future, but may not be ready as this process gets into, as the transit service gets into service in the next couple of years. So I'd like to tell you a little bit just about the process and what we did, both from the development projections and the first and last mile connectivity. For the development projections, we used tax data and looked at the land to improvement value of parcels within a 1 mile radius of each of the potential transit stations. Basically, we used that financial analysis of what is the assessed value of the land versus the assessed value of any improvements on the land to identify properties where the land is as valuable or more valuable than the improvements. That's essentially a sort of a tool and mechanism to give us a financial-based starting point. So that's sort of, if you look at perimeter as an example, that's what the red properties are on the left. We took that as the base analysis and met with local planning staff. So in the county, we met with your local planning staff for each of the municipalities. We met with planning and economic development to say, based on this analysis, how real or not is this and how do we need to tweak it to create a susceptibility to change analysis. And then we looked at the future land use classifications and the zoning code to look at what the development potential of those properties that were identified as susceptible to change are. And based on that analysis, what that allowed us to do was say roughly how many acres of land, and we're thinking out 20 years here. So not, is this land ready to go tomorrow, but what is the development potential if we're thinking out to 2045, 2050, because that's, you know, a transit investment is a 30 to 50 year investment. We need to be thinking for the long haul. So if we take Memorial Drive as just an example of this, on the diagram to the right, the properties that are basically colored that bluish purple are those that, based on analysis, local planning efforts, and input from local planning and economic development staff, have the potential to possibly be something different in 20 to 25 years. So within the 1 mile radius, which is the bigger circle, that's about 530 acres surrounding Memorial Drive at 285. If we focus on just the half-mile circle, which is probably better from a walking, biking standpoint, it's about 200 acres. And when you look at the future land use and zoning classifications, if that property were developed generally to its highest and best use, it has the potential to accommodate an additional 21,000 residents and 2,500 employees given current local policy that's on the books. Now, that in and of itself is a valuable analysis to talk about what is the potential of these locations to foster transit, but it also is a helpful indication of what do our current policies tell us about the mix of jobs versus residents. And so from an analysis like this, there may be some that look at those numbers and say, well, that feels awfully heavy on the employment side. Well, maybe or maybe not, that gives us some food for thought as we think about policy enhancements and development over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of the types of places we want to create and their ability to facilitate or foster transit ridership in the area. So that's the development component. And again, if you look across all of the stations from I-20 East to I-20 West, this is just the comparison of what that analysis gives us. And probably not a lot of surprises. Places like Cumberland and Perimeter are regional job centers where we have the opportunity to create tens of thousands of jobs in the future. Others are more residential in their makeup and in their future land use plans. But overall, this became a very helpful tool for us to then feed to the MARTA team so that we're not just planning transit based on the populations that exist today, but also on the potential to create more transit-oriented development and transit-supportive activity centers within our county, as well as Fulton and Cobb County as well. So that's the development component. The second component of our work, again, was to look at first and last mile connectivity. So we started with what was already on the books. When you look at the county's capital improvements plan, the comprehensive transportation plan, when we look at what is in the Atlanta Regional Commission's transit improvement program, transportation improvement program, what are the projects that are already on the books, particularly multimodal corridors, pedestrian paths, bicycle connectivity. And so again, using Memorial Drive as an example, here's what's on the books today in terms of Memorial Drive bicycle pedestrian enhancements, as well as enhancements around the Kensington Station area as part of the Kensington TOD and small area plan. With that, we looked at each individual station, not only what's on the books from a project standpoint, but where are there gaps in the pedestrian network, in the bicycle network, and what are some recommendations related to multimodal roadway improvements, streetscape enhancements, and pedestrian bicycle infrastructure. So essentially a priority project list for each of the potential transit station areas across the top end to foster more walkability and more connectivity to make future transit stations easier to access, both for those coming to and those going from the transit stations to local destinations, job centers, and residential areas. So if you put all of that together, again, using Memorial Drive as our example, how does that then create opportunities and policy recommendations that if we want Memorial Drive to in the future be a transit stop on a 285 transit system, here's what we could do. One, we need to make sure that the access points in and out of the 285 express lanes facilitate the communities that we want to connect and that we hope to create. Two, our land use policies need to orient transit supportive development types that are more connected, more walkable, more clustered around these transit station areas. There are great examples, like all of the work that the county has done in the Kensington area and the upcoming Livable Centers Initiative study for that area, where our policies are already generally in that direction. That's not necessarily the case everywhere across the top end. So this study was a mechanism to be able to make those recommendations. And then there are other enhancements related to policy, future development potential, and first and last mile connectivity. One of the opportunities here is really to think about enhanced future connectivity between the Indian Creek Station and the Kensington Station, so that our reach beyond those stations into the surrounding area is greater as we think about the potential to be more transit supportive in the future. And so the overall document then goes through policy considerations for each of the potential station areas related to access to and from the express lanes, land use policy to be transit supportive, and connectivity in terms of first and last mile enhancements of our pedestrian bicycle infrastructure. And the X on this chart simply means that there were recommendations within the plan for how to enhance these station areas relative to those specific elements and categories. And all of this has been documented in a summary document that is now accessible to you all as local government officials and going on the City of Brookhaven, I believe's website here in the next couple of weeks. The first two segments of the document are corridor wide. The purpose, the process, the executive summary talks about the entire 285 top-end corridor. And then the analysis and policy considerations basically breaks out each individual station. So most users of this document are probably going to be very interested in 1 to 2 stations, probably not all of them. We encourage those users to use both the gray and the green section to get the overall intent and purpose of the document and how we did the analysis, but then they can go to the station of their choosing in the blue section to find the recommendations, what's on the books today, and our potential to prepare these areas to be more transit supportive in the future. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of the process, the body of work that is now available for your use, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Perfect. Eric, thank you very much. I know that was a lot of information. Commissioners, Commissioner Johnson first, and then Commissioner Terry, any questions, any comments,
Yes.
any concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for the work in the presentation. Personally, very excited to see that you chose Memorial Drive as to highlight in the presentation, because that's my district. So I like that. On like the map that's showing right now, there's kind of a lighter blue dot and a darker blue dot. Is there a distinction between those two?
There is. So we updated this graphic to sort of match the most recent 285 operational analysis that the MARTA team conducted. With that, the darker blue circles are those areas that in the current MARTA system analysis are very clearly identified as having higher potential for short-term stations. The grayer ones are ones that we have studied, but on the current operation analysis are not slated in the short term to have a stop.
Understood, thank you. And then you mentioned you guys looked at all existing plans for all municipalities and the county and everybody. That's extensive. And that's good work because, you know, all these municipalities, we're all kind of working in silos quite often, so we don't always have the opportunity to have someone take the big picture look and see how everything plugs in together. So I do appreciate that, and I look forward to drilling down into that. And I think I just had a general question on, now this analysis is done, kind of what is the next steps?
Yeah, it's twofold. One is this is really intended to be a local policy document. It's going to be a few years before the express lanes exist and we're able to run a transit service. And MARTA now is the lead agency on the transit service. That process, I believe, is going to evolve in the years to come over how the best way to run transit within those express lanes becomes. And so I think for right now, this is a local policy document to help us prepare for that. It also becomes a little bit of an advocacy tool for our local governments of now we have a document that shows projected employment and projected population in comparison to other places on the corridor. So it gives us a more of a data-driven, fact-based approach to be able to advocate as that transit service continues to evolve to work for the best solution that serves not only our local municipalities, but the region as a whole.
I yield, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Terry, before you get started, DCTV, I just got a text from someone saying that they're not seeing anything streaming. Could you guys confirm we are in fact streaming? We are recording. Perfect. Okay.
Zoom streaming in progress as soon as we can get it going. I'm not sure what the technical issue is.
Okay.
But we are working on it.
Okay. Just for clarity's sake, since Aviva is not on a microphone, there are some technical difficulties that are continuing. So this committee meeting is being recorded and will be live streamed the moment things come back up, but then definitely have the recording available on DCTV's website thereafter. Okay. Thanks, Aviva. Commissioner Terry.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Eric, for the presentation. And thank you, Commissioner Patrick, for your leadership on this issue. I know that you've been working on this for many years, going back to when we were at cities, you know, Doraville, me, Clarkston. And so, you know, it's great that a lot of the work over the years, as I think, culminated in a very detailed plan of what, you know, hopefully is in store in the future. It seems like there's a lot of partners involved, GDOT being the main one, but to the extent that we as the county and, you know, just honing in on Memorial Drive area as, you know, being sort of the most in the control of the Board of Commissioners and the county government, it's good to know that we have some potential opportunities and some synergies to work with. So as the 285 plan, I guess, comes to fruition, it sounds like your recommendation is that we need to also be having our own planning sort of jointly aside so that we kind of hopefully do these things together, right? We don't want to wait until one thing's done and then we want to do them and meet in the middle or meet in the future. Is that right?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we have is future transit investments are very likely dependent on our ability to generate ridership, right? Is the cost worth the benefit? So the more that we can do at the local level, both in terms of future planning and also collaboration across the top end, the better we will be able to build the support that we're creating places that will generate ridership and connect people to where they want to go. That's going to better position us for the funding that will be needed to make this transit service a reality.
Absolutely. And I understand, I think, Zach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we, earlier this summer, I believe that we had submitted an application to the ARC to update our transit master plan. And I know there were some like matching funds, and hopefully we get those funds. I assume that we were invited to apply, so that's something that will be taking place. But is the expectation that we would begin to update our transit master plan next year, as early as next year?
I believe so. I would have to go back and double check, but I believe, if the funding comes through, then we would just keep moving.
Okay. And Mr. Chair, I think this is great timing, obviously, because, when we know what the state and other, organizations' plans are, we can make our plan, fit. I did have a conversation with GDOT's like pedestrian sort of team, because we were looking at Memorial Drive about how can we make it safer to cross the street, basically.
Yep.
And I just asked this very general question. I said, there's so many lanes on Memorial Drive. I mean, why don't we just go ahead and, begin to sort of come to an agreement on a bus rapid transit or a rapid transit system on Memorial Drive? And the suggestion was, well, y'all should just ask us for a lane study or something. There was some technical term, I can't remember if it was a transportation study or something, because the last sort of, I guess, notion was that there's a lot of capacity on Memorial Drive, being 3 lanes with a turn lane and a ton of right-of-way. And, to me, it just seems like as the 285 work is like planning, and hopefully that's probably going to be what, like a 10-year, how many years are we talking about before we would see the full fruition of express lanes actually built?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the current schedule is.
Okay. Okay, well, 8 to 10 maybe. But it's going to take a while, right? Yeah. And I think that the opportunity we have on Memorial Drive is, and this is similar to Buford Highway as well. They're both GDOT, roads. We would like to see redevelopment, at least on Memorial Drive. There's a lot of vacant shopping centers. I think the map that you showed of the redevelopment potential is basically just showing it's a bunch of suburban shopping centers, and in some of them they're abandoned. Like there's no activity happening there whatsoever. And so if we have the transportation capacity, the potential transit capacity and trail capacity on the existing right-of-way, those are things that, like, honestly, we don't have to wait for an express lane to come. We can start working on our backbone or our side bone, if you will, so that when 285 gets complete, we've already built our infrastructure in that area. So, I mean, is your advice for us to really begin honing in? And I guess you showed Memorial Drive specifically because that's sort of the most in control we have when it comes to the county. Like, are you encouraging us to take a deeper dive into that immediate half mile and 1 mile area and begin to get some plans in motion?
So if I could answer that,
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric, I think we want to be mindful of the fact that although there's been a lot of planning behind this is another step in the planning process. And my least favorite word in the English language is the iterative process. Yes. But this is what this is. So this is one step above or several steps above where we initially started off at. CEO will have her efforts and engagement with us on that as well. So I just want to acknowledge that the CEO, transportation has been top of mind for her for quite some time. And so she will have some input and some say on that. It does seem like in areas, though, that they are more under the county's control. We perhaps should be getting ready to have those conversations and see where they go. Again, I know the CEO has some planning ideas, and so we just want to give acknowledgement of those planning ideas, but also have it in the context of, yes, if this is something that's under our control, we probably should be talking about a lot more. Shallowford Road area, I think, would be another great conversation to have. Doraville, obviously, they're on their own. They have their own planning studies to go with it, but ultimately that collaborative effort that we will be working on.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm all open for collaboration. I mean, the virtue of Memorial Drive and 285 and that area between Kensington and Indian Creek, you have districts 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all can converge right there. So you have a lot of stakeholders. To the extent that budgetary, land use are all things that are the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners. Hopefully we're, as plans are being hatched, we're doing so in a way that's collaborative. And, I'm just, generally speaking, I usually like to know what's happening ahead of time so we can plan together versus just being shown a document and saying, look at this great thing that we came up with, will you sign it please, or rubber stamp it. So, if there are plans being hatched or things that are being discussed, whether it's the CEO or any other jurisdiction, the sooner that we get involved the commissioners, the better.
Engagement's
so
a good
we can do
idea.
it together.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'll just, thank you, Chair. I'll add that along Memorial Drive, we are working on pedestrian safety. We've been working with GDOT to get those crosswalks in with the beacons and all that. So that was something that we're working on that came out of the Memorial Drive Master Plan. So that is in the works. But there's still a lot of conversations happening, like you were saying, about redevelopment along Memorial Drive, because it is a lot of potential right there. So I'm going to be delving into this so we could really pull out some projects.
Yep.
And we had talked about getting the study done for BRT along Memorial Drive. So whatever I need to do to get that going, I'll figure that out.
We will work and get that done together, absolutely. Eric, I know that you have some other colleagues here with you. I believe Erica's behind you. We've got Patty Hansen and Jonathan. Do they have anything they'd like to add to the conversation? Or would you guys like to come up and add something to the conversation?
Well, thank you, Chairman Patrick. You have been great. You're right. You've been a part of the project. I've only been at MARTA for so long, but every time we have a meeting regarding 285, somehow you seem to be at almost every public meeting. So
Yeah, I hope those are kind words that are being said.
Thank you for your involvement up to this point. What I will say is that MARTA, we are trying to be a great partner to GDOT. Much of this, obviously, is a lot of it is out of our control, but what we want to do is continue to be a good partner to them. We have extended the CDM Smith contract. They're the prime consultant on this project for the transit component. So we extended it 1 year, and so we're going to continue work to flush out the design and help GDOT with their procurement process, making sure all the transit considerations are being considered. Everything that you said was definitely spot on. What I will say is utilizing this document, and it's probably just replicating everything that was already said, but utilizing this document and being able to build on it in such a way that it cuts down the cost of the project, it would definitely help. So maybe there's a roadway project that is going on, and you can use this project as, and as we provide more information, to your point, we want to make sure that you stay abreast of future plans that are going on. So as we get more information, we'll provide more information. And we've done just that with the policy working group and also the other groups that we formed around this project. But as we get that information in, we'll be able to, allow you to be that advocating voice for how we can keep this project as cost efficient as possible, so we can actually see this project hit the ground and improve the community at large. So.
All right, thank you.
Can I have Mr. Chair, quick follow-up
sorry.
on that?
Go ahead.
So just in terms of moving forward with kind of planning, because I know a lot of the pre-planning up to this point has been the top end, and it was initiated by the leaders up there. But now that we are including Memorial Drive, Indian Creek in this plan, because I've actually never been to any of these meetings. And it's because I'm deferring to for District 1 Commissioner, but how do we make sure that as things move forward, the policy council or whatever stakeholder group that has been meeting for many years that's been focused on top end, how do we ensure that the representation for the Memorial Drive, Indian Creek area is now sort of at the table, since that clearly is part of the plan now?
Absolutely. So they are a part of the top end in this case. So everything from Indian Creek Station all the way to HE Homes, that's all the top end part of this project. But what we can do, if you have a designated person that you feel like you want to be a part of that discussion, whether it's yourself or anybody else that will represent, we'll be happy to add them to the contact list, and we'll properly communicate. I think the interesting part is, again, because we extended the contract for 1 year, right now the bulk of it is just reviewing the procurement process with GDOT. So much of it is really confidential, just trying to work through the kinks, and that way we come up with a final recommendation for which station would be selected, what the alignments would look like, all of those nuances, and then from there we'll be able to have further discussion around just being able to communicate back to all the elected officials and everyone else that's been involved with the project.
Okay. So it sounds like we could maybe just talk to commissioners.
I was going to say, if you want to have an offline conversation,
Yeah.
and maybe we can do some rotates and some swaps for attendance, making sure that we are mindful of our own quorum requirements.
Yeah.
But have other people start getting engaged on this as well, because I think
Okay.
that would be the long-term benefit is getting buy-in
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
from you guys. So thank you very much. Again, I appreciate it. Patty, Jonathan, would you like to add anything to the conversation? And welcome to the Board of Commissioners. I know we'll be in your
It's a
domain this evening.
We're looking forward to seeing you this evening
Yep.
in Brookhaven.
Yep.
Patty Hansen from Brookhaven. I have been the project manager and liaison on Top End since 2018. I was the end of 2018. When you asked that question, I was like, I just, for the Top End Transit Executive Committee, to the Commissioner's question, that committee is counties and cities and CIDs from essentially 20 to 20, which is now the footprint of all the top end studies. And of course, Commissioner Patrick has been active in that. Anybody is welcome to attend. We only meet when there are specific things, there are items specific to transit, because we don't want it to suddenly have policy creep. There are so many things going on. However, one thing I would emphasize is that when MARTA has meetings, that it is critical that the county be there. I know Commissioner Patrick has been there for most of them, but when they have their meetings, they are really getting into the nuts and bolts of the design here and talking about every station, which is why MARTA was good enough to launch this study, because unfortunately, or fortunately, the way federal funding works is you build for what's there, where we as municipal leaders know that you build for the future, and that's what this study is about. So I would encourage you to, I will notify you about meetings that we're having, attend the MARTA meetings, but we will also, I will apologize for Brookhaven not having this study on the site yet. We're right in the middle of a transition to a new and exciting website. So I'll go ahead and forward that to all of you so that you have it. I think it's very worthwhile. It's a great document. We're very proud of the work that's been done here. Every single one of your planning employees were on it. All the planning groups from each city really informed it. So thanks for your time, and please join us anytime at Top End.
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing I do want to add that our colleagues here have not mentioned is GDOT's capacity when it comes to actually building the Peach Pass lanes. And I think, if I remember correctly, the segmentation is going to be sort of at the county line with Fulton, going down to, I think, Henderson Mill Road is the first phase that they're looking at. And so while there's lots of planning opportunities to talk about future things, I think that we'll find that GDOT is mono-focused on that one segment right there to get it through, I guess, still in the procurement phase, and then get it out on the street or get it active for us. So again, thank you very much. Commissioners, any other final thoughts or questions before we move on to the next item? No? Okay. Thank you to all four of you for being here. Much appreciate you. And this is a good conversation. I'm glad we're able to get this moving forward. Again, just an acknowledgement. CEO has been very much involved in mass transit and planning for quite some time. And so this is a component to the conversation. And as we move forward, we'll be refining it down into something that everybody gets behind. So thank you very much, all. Yep. Okay. Well, with that said, let's move on to the next item, which is the DeKalb County Operational and Performance Assessment discussion. Our COO, Mr. Zach Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And what I'd like to do is recap a conversation we've had, I believe here, but certainly at other special call meetings, just discussing how we're going to move forward with the response to the operational assessment. And thanks to the board about, I think, the last meeting. we approved a contract with a Momentum firm, and they are going to be charged with assisting us in not only a review of the assessment, but putting together a timeline and a strategy for dealing with each of the issues. So what I believe Mr. Allen just handed is kind of the what we're characterizing as the RACI model, which is just clearly identifying the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed stakeholders as we move forward in the response to the assessment. How we envision completing the month of October, which is really going to be ensuring that the departments are clear on what their expectations are, confirming the goals, the process, and beginning the overall establishment of a timeline. In the month of November, we will be presenting to the board, for the first time from departments, their take on the assessment. And that's really going to start us on the way to just kind of talking about, here are the findings, here are our responses to the findings. And at that point, if committees have input that they would like to provide, it would be appropriate at that time. During the month of December, we're going to complete our action plans, which is going to be how we're going to go about addressing the findings. And then beginning at the top of the year, we will begin reporting on a quarterly basis to the various committees on how we're doing with addressing the issues that were brought up in the report. So that's kind of how we see it. The next couple of months throughout the balance of the year is really just assessing where we are, putting together a timeline, and beginning the first part of the year, we will be reporting back on how we're doing with actually addressing the issues. If there's any budgetary needs, we will try to the best of our ability to incorporate them in the 26 budget, but there may be some things that we just will not have time or be able to do enough of an assessment, and then that would be appropriate for the 27 budget.
Okay.
Or possibly the mid-year.
Okay, so again, this is before the end of October, you guys will come back to us with sort of the staff assessment of
Right,
what the
in
report says.
November. In November, we
Okay.
anticipate coming
Okay.
back and presenting to the various committees.
Okay. You're just referencing to that operational report when it gets into, I guess, the Public Works area. It says that there are a lot of reports that are generated on, things that have happened, I guess, on a quarterly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible you could bring that to us maybe by the end of the month, maybe at our next PWI?
Mm-hmm.
Just give us a for instance, or some insights onto the reports that are produced at the staff level.
Sure.
So the commission
Sure.
is aware of,
Sure.
where
And what
things are.
Right. We can bring, and an aside is something we're also working on, is developing dashboards so that will be much more readily apparent, that you'll be able to get those at a moment's notice.
Okay.
So that's also part of what we're working on. But we will certainly be able to provide examples of reports that I see or that department heads are looking at on a regular basis. But those aren't in the format that are as easily digestible as that we'd like. But we certainly have the data whether it's tracking, and sanitation, missed routes, or, it's a whole host of things, or the amount of pipe that has been put in. There's a whole host of things we can provide.
All of that information, I think, would be very informative and valuable.
Yep.
So anything you have,
Well,
please.
we'll be able to provide examples, and then hopefully first quarter of 26, we're able to actually have dashboards, and that could be part of the quarterly reporting.
Perfect. Commissioner Johnson, any questions or comments?
Just a comment. So I think getting that information would be really helpful. Plus, would help us communicate with the constituents and the residents exactly what we are doing, how much we are doing, because some people think, well, you haven't got to my problem, you guys aren't
Right.
doing anything.
Right,
So
right.
we can easily show how many miles of whatever
course,
we
of
put
course.
in and all the work that we're doing.
Okay,
So I
absolutely.
think that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. And at an upcoming meeting, Director Hauser and maybe others will be presenting what is known as Project Finder. And I think that's going to give you a pretty good insight on what's going on and the process for getting projects done.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Commissioner Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. So as this assessment that, was already performed by Malden and Jenkins is sort of reported back on, and, we followed the model here, what what is the timeline schedule for the operational assessment of the watershed department
So
specifically?
I believe, I don't know if I've gotten the quote yet, but I'm in conversation with Malden and Jenkins to get the pricing or the proposal. I'm just going through I don't know that I've received it yet, but I will get that.
It wasn't going to be the Momentum firm that was going to handle that?
Well,
I thought that was what we included in their contract.
Yeah, but I think we're primarily looking at Momentum for implementation.
Okay.
Of the plate. They have a full plate.
Okay.
So it may be best to go on and use Malden Jenkins since they did all the other assessments.
Okay. Well, so the plan is just get some pricing and then
And move.
and then bring back that to the committee for just approval, or is it already like part of the contract? and
I
we
think
can
it's
move
going to
forward?
be under the threshold that we'll be able to just move forward
Just move forward.
and get it done.
Okay. Okay, great. And then, Mr. Chair, just in terms of the sanitation department, so in the assessment there, are y'all also looking at kind of the other issues related to commercial sanitation service and what the law
Yes.
says,
Yes.
stipulates sort of how that
Absolutely.
service delivery model works, and then just the whole like pricing model of how we provide residential, commercial,
sure.
and other services within the current rate structure?
Right. So here's how I would say it, and thank you for the question, Commissioner Terry, because there's a number of studies or efforts moving simultaneously, and the board approved a contract with MGT about, I don't know, call it 3 months ago, and one of their charges is assisting in looking at fines and fees. So part of the conversation with MGT will be assessing and giving input to our fee structure in sanitation and reviewing work that is also being done, I believe, by Arcadis. So all of that's going to be part of the conversation because we recognize that, we're at many instances too good of a deal. We're not recovering costs as we should.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Zach, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we are done with our discussion topics, and we are going to move into our agenda, and we're going to get into Public Works Transportation. Top of page 2 of our agenda for those following along. Agenda item 2025-1211. This is for districts 2 and 6. Change order number 2 to contract number 1366762. Right turn lane on Briar Lake Road at Briarcliff Road, 180 days for use by Public Works Transportation. This contract consists of the construction of a right turn lane at the Briarcliff Road intersection with Briarcliff Road, including related curb, ramps, and sidewalks. This request seeks approval to increase the contract term through December 31st, 2026, awarded to SD&C Incorporated, contract term increase only. Hey, Director?
Deputy.
Interim.
Interim.
Deputy Interim Director Patrice Keita, thank you for being here. Please tell us what you can about this.
All right, so this is a current contract we have with SD&C to build a right turn lane at the intersection of Briar Lake Road and Briarcliff Road. We have been delayed, the project's been delayed for utilities, and Georgia Power is getting an easement for some guy wires. So the project can't begin until such time that they have their easements. So we're just waiting. So there's no increase in funding, just time.
Just contract term. Commissioners, any questions?
Do we have any idea when? I know it's utilities, you never know, but we're hoping this extension will cover it.
I am hoping this extension will cover it. They needed 180 days from April, so I haven't mathematically figured that out. But I have been strongly encouraging them to prioritize this easement.
Thank you.
Commissioner Terry, any questions, any concerns?
No, but I just want to strongly encourage also the utility companies to work with us
Yeah,
on these issues because we are often waiting for them to approve something like that. Like the next one is like natural gas lines and other things, so.
That's right, but in this process, we've found ways that we can improve that communication, and so a silver lining, I think that we will do better in the future, both of us.
Okay. That being said, any additional questions? If not, I'll open the floor up for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-1211.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. Agenda item 2025-1212. Again, this is District 2 and Super 6. Change order number 1 to contract number, that's a lot of zeros, 2080. East Rock Springs Roundabout at Beach Valley Way, 365 days for use by the Department of Public Works Transportation. This contract consists of the construction of a roundabout at the East Rock Springs Road intersection with Beach Valley Road and Cumberland Road. This request seeks to approve the increased contract term through December 31st, 2026, awarded to Summit Construction and Development, LLC. Contract term increase only.
Similarly, we had a delay in utilities. They are proceeding, but the end date for the contract was December 31st, 2025, so we just extended it so that the contractor can now complete the work.
Yep. Any questions? Okay, open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-1212.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. Agenda item 2025-1269. This is for all commission districts. Low bid invitation number 25-018. North Decatur Road at Parkdale traffic light signal and pedestrian hybrid beacon, 270 days for use by the Department of Public Works Transportation. Consists of construction of a new traffic signal at the North Decatur Road Parkdale Drive intersection, constructing a new pedestrian hybrid beacon across North Decatur Road near Gifford Drive, and installation of a concrete ADA ramp at both locations. Recommended award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Reedwick LLC, amount not to exceed $410,442.50.
Well, we're very excited about this project near the Toby Grant Center and the senior housing. It's a crossing to get to MARTA. It's a new traffic signal, as well as a pedestrian hybrid beacon signal closer to the signal, the senior housing. So we would ask for approval so we can
Get her done.
do some pedestrian safety improvements.
Understood. Questions? Oh,
Comment.
please go ahead first, then Commissioner Terry.
This is a great location to put this in. Even just trying to turn into there, sometimes you gotta hurry up and turn so someone don't hit you from behind. So I think having a traffic light there is gonna be really good and a good benefit. So happy to see this coming.
Yep. Commissioner Terry?
Yes, thank you. This has been requested from the neighbors for many years now, so thank you, Director, Interim Deputy, Interim Director, Director, for working on this. And so I think, and it seems like there's not any utility issues, so this should be a pretty straightforward installation, right?
This one is very straightforward.
Yeah.
However, we're already having discussions to make sure that there's no issues.
Great. And we're going to take inspiration from Commissioner Patrick's Light Up the Intersection event that you did at Pleasantdale. So maybe Commissioner Johnson and I, when this thing's installed, we can do a little light up event, because there's a lot of people who use and cross that area.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're not talking about 420 light up, right?
Yes.
No. Ted, no.
Sir.
No.
See what happens when y'all leave us
You know,
alone.
if you don't have good relations with your colleagues, it makes it difficult. And sometimes we just have to have a little fun. So no harm intended with that one. Before I get myself in more trouble with my colleagues or the state, Commissioner Johnson, if you don't mind, we'd open the floor up for a motion for you to get us out of here quickly.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-1269.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Okay, all right. Now we're getting into some serious stuff. Watershed management, we've got agenda item 2025-0950. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 1 to contract numbers 1279581 and 1279578 on call concrete and retainer walls. 3-year, multi-year contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management, Facilities Management, Public Works Sanitation, Roads and Drainage, and Beautification, Public Works Divisions. Consists of forming, placing, and finishing concrete as needed for curbs, gutters, sidewalks, retainer walls, cheek walls, footings, and steps. This request seeks to increase the contract term and funds through December 31st, 2026, awarded to Construction 57 Incorporated and DAF Concrete Incorporated. Total amount not to exceed $600,000. Director Lemke.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a multi-department change order. The original contract covered a number of different departments. This change order, however, only increases funds for facilities maintenance and roads and drainage. It's a typical construction activity for miscellaneous wall construction that is used, curbs, gutters, as indicated, and we're just looking for the contract extension and the increase in funds so that we can continue to proceed with this work.
Could you give us for instance, when this contract will be put in place? Is this something where, since you're adding watershed management, is this where like a sidewalk gets dug up and this is the funds to repair the sidewalk and curb and gutter, or is this other items as well?
No, there's a multitude of items. It could be sidewalk, curb and gutter through, some of the watersheds activities if they need to, re-pour concrete or something like that. Same thing for roads and drainage if we're doing a storm job and we end up having to re-pour some concrete, or even just another job, for example, the cheek walls are typically the walls that go alongside steps, or for example, down a hill or something like that. And these are miscellaneous concrete that ends up having to be formed, not just flat work.
Gotcha. And these are the guys that'll get that done?
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, any questions? Commissioner Terry? All right, with that said, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-0950.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to agenda item 2025-1061. This is a cooperative agreement for fire system inspections, contract number 24-6789, annual contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This request consists of purchasing from the competitively let DeKalb County contract number 24-6789 for future service, inspection, testing, certification, and preventative maintenance and repairs for sites for building fire alarm systems, sprinkler systems, portable handheld fire extinguishers, kitchen hood suppression systems, specialty fire suppression systems, and fire hoses and related hydrostatic systems, awarded to Cliffs Fire Extinguisher Company, Incorporated, amount not to exceed $200,000. Director Wells, good to see you.
Morning.
This one kind of almost seems like it might be more of an ops issue. How is it that this comes into PWI?
Purely just because it's for watershed management, and due to the fact we have a number of facilities with a lot of sensitive equipment, a lot of use of chemicals, different factors that could lead to the need for fire suppression.
Okay.
We really are robust with our inspections, just for the sole protection of all people,
Understood.
more importantly, but then also the county assets, the
Okay.
equipment, et cetera.
Okay, all right.
Typically, we would try to piggyback if there was something in place, maybe with facilities, but it's just so important we can't do without, so we are vigilant at all times to ensure we have a mechanism in place to have this particular function covered.
And this is only obviously going to be for county facilities that we're talking about here.
Correct. Yeah, it's county watershed facilities.
Gotcha.
We have several, from pumping stations to major facilities, plants, et cetera. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All watershed
Okay.
county assets.
Gotcha. Commissioner Johnson?
That answers my question, but I wanted to note there is a typo in the amount and the number. We're missing a 0 in there, but.
Yes, but it is $200,000?
Correct.
Okay, yep.
That's all, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Terry, anything to add? Nope. All right. Commissioner Johnson, open the floor for a motion.
I move to approve item 2025-1061.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Director Wells, thank you.
Thank you.
Guess the next one's yours as well. Next few are yours. Agenda item 2025-1268. This is for all commission districts. Rescission of award under invitation number 24-10167-1. Electrical switchgear inspection and repair, annual contract with 2 options to renew for use by the Department of Watershed Management, consists of providing inspection and repair of switchgear equipment at water and wastewater treatment plants. This request seeks to rescind the award to TRC Engineers Incorporated under agenda item 2025-0003 and reawarded to the second awardee, Brown Electric Services, LLC, amount not to exceed $1 million. Director Wells?
Yes, so ultimately, there was a need to reallocate or reaward. That was approved by you all. We went forth with that action. But upon actually engaging in a formal contract with that new awardee, they failed to provide necessary documentation, which is why I'm here now with the rescission.
Rescission, okay. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Commissioner Johnson? Nope. Commissioner Terry? Nope, we're good. All right, well, I'll go ahead and open the floor for a motion.
I move to approve item 2025-1268.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, agenda item 2025-1214. This is for all districts. Request for proposal number 24-500674, water meter installation and cul-de-sac renewal program. Annual contract with 4 options to renew. Option B, a new water meter installation project for use by the Department of Watershed Management, consists of providing water meter installations, upgrades, and replacements. Recommend award to the sole proposer, who is responsive and responsible, Metals and Materials Engineers, LLC, amount not to exceed $12,158,975. Director Wells, so this is a new program we're looking to set up?
Yes, actually, just re-procuring something that we've had in place for water main installation, as well as cul-de-sac service line renewal. Basically, within all our cul-de-sacs, the water main only extends so far in order to charge the hydrant, but the actual circular part of the cul-de-sac is actually served by typically a 2-inch line, which in most cases is galvanized just due to the age of our infrastructure. So we need to be in a position, posture to renew that with copper when the times come. In addition, we also always need the ability to install new water meters, just by virtue of facilitating new developments, housing market, etc.
Right, right, okay. Commissioner Johnson?
So if I understood you right, this contract, they would only be worried about the 2-inch line, not bleeding up to the hydrant.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then, has this done audit?
It has not, and so
Correct. I was gonna.
this is worth the
All
conversation.
remaining items over $3 million hadn't been through audit. I just was gonna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This was a large enough dollar figure that I figured we should ask some questions and be knowledgeable on the front end. One of the questions I was going to ask Director is can you give us either a list of the neighborhoods that this is going to cover or some ideas where we can look as commissioners within our own districts to understand sort of the specific locations and just get the context when questions come up from our residents, how to answer those. I think that would be helpful for me. I'm not sure if commissioners would appreciate something like that. But
If he
Yes,
has.
so typically when it comes about, if we get a request for a new water meter installed or a replacement or existent, and upon us going, we realize there's galvanized, at that time, we would upgrade to.
Okay.
So it's,
it's
or
not
if
a-
we respond and there's a issue or a break and we realize it's galvanized, we'll go. So it's,
So this is more of a reactive, hey, there's an issue here
Correct.
already, we're going to go in and fix it the right
Correct.
way, versus the proactive of,
Correct.
we know these specific areas are on galvanized versus copper, and we're going to approach it.
correct.
Okay.
It's
All right.
on an as-needed basis. It's to ensure we can manage any new requests for water meter installation, and if at that time we need to renew the cul-de-sac,
Okay.
we will do that. Yeah. it's it's based on an as-needed situation.
Gotcha. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm wondering if the previous conversation we were having about the assessments and the reports we might potentially get, maybe we can get a reporting of, and it may already be something you guys are thinking about, of how many times we've enacted this contract in the past and the previous iteration. That might also be helpful. But since it is reactive, when something happens,
Correct.
you're not
could-
projecting, you don't have a list of the next ones to get to, but maybe a list of the ones that you've done.
Absolutely. We could do a look back, and I do anticipate us in preparation of what's going to be required as it relates to the lead carpet rule. I do envision us using this contract for a number of those requirements going forward as those requirements ramp up. So, but absolutely, we can definitely look back and see what we've done previously.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I guess just being on the formal side, do you want to give a motion to defer?
2 weeks. Okay. I moved it to defer item 2025-1214 for 2 weeks.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right. Director Wells, we got another one. Agenda item 2025-1266. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 1 to contract number 1304786, chlorine gas, sodium hypochlorite, and sodium bicarbonate, 3-year multi-year contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of providing chemicals to treat drinking water for DeKalb County residents. This request seeks to increase the contract term and funds through December 31st, 2026. Awarded to Brent Tag Mid-South Incorporated, amount not to exceed $4,500,000. Again, this is one that we'll have to go to audit, but it's worth the conversation to talk about.
Absolutely. This one and the 2 following are actually chemicals we use at our wastewater and drinking water treatment plant to ensure we treat to meet all necessary permit requirements for safe, clean drinking water, as well as to recharge the environment with acceptable discharge from our wastewater plants. There's a tremendous amount of efforts as far as energy, chemical, electricity, things of that nature that it takes to actually run our treatment plants. And these are just some items that are required as it relates to chemical, yes.
Okay, all right.
So we're asking on not only this item, but the following to increase the term to 2026 and add the necessary funds to cover that time period while we ultimately rebid all of the active chemical contracts we have.
Gotcha. Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Just curious, how often do we rebid these contracts?
So we typically, I think, award for like a 3-year period and try to rebid in that frequency, but sometimes market fluctuations or whatever or different things require us to do change orders to extend the period while we're soliciting the new contracts. Sometimes we have changes at the plant, so we may require less or more, and some vendors in their means to deliver in quantity and frequency may not fit what it is we need now, the new treatment strategy. So it just depends on what we're looking at. Sometimes, even though there is a multi-year reward, we have to make a change to add a different additive or change in volume, or it just depends. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, do you want to do a move for action and
I
do
think
these together?
2 weeks would be probably appropriate as well,
Yes.
but
Did you want to do all 3 of them, or you want to do them separately? Because I think the same, or they're all chemicals, right? The next 2.
Yes, ma'am.
all right. How about a move for action then?
Move for action.
All right. Next item is agenda item 2025-1271. This is for all commission districts. Change orders to contract numbers 1296044, 1296038, and 1296180. Ferric chloride liquid oxygen, and various chemicals, 3-year multi-year contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management. These contracts consist of the purchasing sodium hydroxide to treat wastewater and clean water for DeKalb County residents. This request seeks to increase the contract term and funds through December 31st, 2026, awarded to PVS Technologies Incorporated, Airgas USA LLC, and Univar Solutions USA. Total amount not to exceed $5,250,000. Director Wells?
Yes. So this is, again, just routine chemicals that we utilize at our treatment plant just to ensure we meet the permits, the requirements, and provide the needed service to DeKalb County.
Perfect.
Move for action.
All right. Agenda item 2025-1283. This is for all commission district. Change order number 2 to several contracts. Water and wastewater treatment chemicals, 3-year multi-year contract for use by the Department of Watershed Management. These contracts consist of the purchase of various chemicals to treat water and wastewater. This request seeks to increase the contract term and funds through December 31st, 2026, awarded to Burnett Lime Company Incorporated, CNS Chemicals Incorporated, Mississippi Lime Company, Penco Incorporated, Polydyne Incorporated, and Southern Ionics Incorporated. Total amount not to exceed $7,300,000. Director Wells?
Yes, this item, lime in particular, is utilized quite a bit at our wastewater treatment plants. It helps us with managing pH and what we like to say, condition out biosolids, which is very important. So,
Is there a less technical term? Maybe don't
You
say
are
it.
on
Let's
one
not say
today.
it. Let's not say it.
and of course, it's required to meet the necessary NPDES discharge permits. et
Understood.
cetera.
Understood. Commissioner?
Move for action.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take the next one with this one. Again, under Watershed Management Director, this is agenda item 2025-1191. This is for all commission districts. Change order number 3 to contract number 1301520. On-call water and sewer, multi-year contract with 2 options to renew for use by the Department of Watershed Management. This contract consists of providing on-call services for the installation and repairs of various sizes of water and sewer pipes. The work consists of providing the means to respond to emergencies and unforeseen failures or malfunctions throughout the county's distribution system. This request seeks to increase contract funds and scope. The request increase will assist in replacing existing 2-inch galvanized main with new 12-inch main and replacement of 16-inch and 12-inch diameter water mains prior to the completion of the City of Avondale's streetscape project, scheduled for completion no later than December 31st, 2025. Awarded to GS Construction and not to exceed $9,326,533. So, Director,
This one is
Do we
out of
take
audit.
this one separate? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, this one has come out of audit, so we want to do the
That's
previous 3.
And it's
Absolutely right.
previously heard.
thank you.
Awesome.
Open the floor for a motion.
Yes, I move to approve item 2025-1266, 1271. No, I move to defer for
Thank you.
2 weeks
Correct.
for audit item 2025-1266, 1271, and 1283.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Hopefully y'all will forgive me for having to read this one out again.
Watching, man.
I think we're good. I think we're good.
And this one specific.
And just for clarity's sake, $9,326,533. Director Wells?
Yes, sir. So 1191 is it's ultimately a water main replacement project, specifically down College Avenue. Avondale Estates is doing a beautiful job of modernizing that corridor, and we had a pretty age 16-inch and I believe an 8-inch line that we needed to replace. Had some previous leaks, etc. So ultimately, this item is because we had an existing on-call and had some allotment of funds, we were able to go ahead and initiate the project. However, we do need these funds to replenish the contract and
Yep.
keep it going.
So does that mean that there was an existing contract and?
Correct. So
Yep.
existing on-call contract with 3 vendors. We reviewed the scope with all 3, got the best pricing, the actual vendor that could mobilize the quickest with the capacity, the most beneficial pricing, which just so happened to be GS.
Okay.
And the project is underway and successful.
So I guess the
This
question.
is, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. A question I have for you. So the 3 contracts that we had in place originally, were they sort of at large countywide, and then the seriousness of this project started developing, and
Correct.
a lot of resources were put behind this particular project?
Correct. We have routine on-calls just for this particular situation and/or emergencies. This was, although urgent in nature, there wasn't a imminent failure, but however, we needed to get ahead of the deadline of Avondale, and this was the best
Okay.
contracting mechanism to do so.
And then just the final question, this can be done by December 31st of this year? That
Yes,
is
sir.
enough time?
Actually, we're wrapping up.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I get
got
you.
new water line from Sam Crossing to Lakeshore, I
Lakeshore.
believe it is.
Okay.
Commissioner Terry knows because he's got on me about the water meter lids, which we replaced. I was waiting on you to say something. I didn't want. Yeah.
As long as
So-
we're smooth.
Yeah, so, yes, we were causing quite a bit of headache, quite frankly, with chasing leaks, et cetera. So it was just the most responsible thing to do was to move forward with replacement. We were, I think it was in a later program, CIP, but at that time we would have then trampled over some very nice streetscape and heavy-duty pavement, so it just made sense to
Get her done.
reprioritize, if you will, to,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
And actually, it costs less doing it now versus then, so.
Digging up and doing it all over again. I
Yeah,
agreed.
Public
Yeah.
outcry would have been unbearable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I do appreciate being able to pivot and collaborate while the road's already open and already tore up.
Absolutely.
So we're not tearing it up again. That's always very frustrating when that happens.
Absolutely.
I did have a question in the agenda item. The requested increase will assist in replacing an existing 2-inch galvanized with a 12-inch. Is that right? That's a big increase.
So,
I'm just curious.
no, so there are some commercial meters along there, and so we will,
Okay.
the connection to the water lines that are running, yeah, so it's just really, how we arrive at price is detailed quantities. So that's why they're mentioned every size and, yeah.
Got you. Because I'm like, that's 2-inch to 12-inch. That's a big difference.
Yeah, no.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I also want to say thank you to Mr. Lavoie Campbell for the work that the audit team does. They've
Absolutely.
reviewed this one. They're going to be going through the previous items that we've talked about that were greater than $3 million. So just want to acknowledge Mr. Campbell and his team for their efforts. They are much appreciated and valued by not just the commission, but also the residents of DeKalb County. With that said, Commissioner Johnson, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item 2025-1191.
All right, I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Our
Thank you.
last item, absolutely, Director, appreciate your time here. Last item, 2024-0525. This is for all commission districts, a resolution to establish the Environmental Justice and Sustainability Resident Advisory Group. Commissioner Terry?
Yes,
How are we
thank you,
doing on
Mr.
that?
Chair. Yes, I think the administration is still conducting their review on the pieces of the resolution that, would have operational and administrative impact. So, Zach, are we good for 2 weeks while y'all sort of assess kind of the departmental side of this, and then I think we're all good on like our side in terms of just the board structure and sort of how we actually form the board and how the policy aspect fits into this. But part of it is ultimately implementation of the clean energy and clean transportation plan. That's kind of the piece that's more the administration's main responsibility.
Yes, so, yes, Mr. Chair, to Commissioner's question, if we could have a couple of weeks, we would definitely appreciate it. Give us an opportunity to, to do a final reviews, have additional conversations. I also want to see exactly, the CEO's take on how we would go about implementing.
Would the PWI before Thanksgiving be enough time? Not too much time? What would you be comfortable with?
Let me look at the dates here.
And I don't think we have our little calendars here. Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
So that would be Monday, November 10th, BOC meeting. And so the PWI before that,
So Tuesday, November 4th?
is that when y'all meet next? Is that right? Yeah, because it's a committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if y'all, I'm good. So Zach, I guess that's really about a month, actually.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Okay. So yeah, if y'all don't mind maybe deferring to the BOC on the 10th and then stop at PWI on the 4th.
Open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to defer item 2024-0525 to the November 10th BOC meeting with a prior stop in PWI.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Well, it's that sad part of the day when we're at the end of our agenda.
Such a great
and we
show.
have and we
Such
have
a
a
great
good
show.
We got
have so much fun.
We work. Like, this is the work to get it done committee. But that said, thank you very much for listening. I don't know if we ever got our live stream back up, but this is supposed to be videotaped, and so hopefully the residents will enjoy watching our banter as well as our business here at the PWI committee. With that being said, I'll open the floor for a motion.
I move we adjourn.
I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thanks, everybody.